Hey everyone, this is going to be part one of a two-part series because there's just too much to do in one video, so I decided to do two. I wouldn't tell you what take this is of part one. It's probably like take 22. No, it's not that bad. Anyway, the main topic of the two parts is the assets that are created for your listings by the Century 21 system and how you can use them together, how you can modify them, um, all different types of tools that you can use for both the videos as well as the website. And we're going to get into it. The idea, in general, is the concept of why are we talking about it? It's because there are a lot of great assets that are created, and I'm not sure that everybody's completely aware of them all. And there's ways that you can actually modify them and change them to best meet your business needs as opposed to the defaults that are created. So we'll get into it. We're going to do primarily in part one, we're going to look at the user settings, but we are going to do one thing from here that you can't do from anywhere else. Now, I already did it earlier, so I can't do it again, but you want to click on show more details because we want this one link. I mean, you can look on around on this page and see what's available, all the different links that you could pick up, um, and so forth. We're not going to do anything from here on these, but we are going to hit this button, edit URL. So this tab opens up, and what it basically gives you is the ability to create another URL, subdomain. I mean, these are all subdomains from c21.com. Um, by default, when these sites are created, the form of the URL is the street address, a unit number if appropriate, and then a town or city name, .c21. So that's what's available by default. We do, through this little tab, we have the ability to create another domain name that points to the same site. So I did it earlier. I created Surf Song Unit 350. It's a little bit shorter. It's also different. There's a chance that somebody might be searching just under Surf Song as opposed to the address. And this way, having an active link with Surf Song in it gives me a better chance of that being found in the search engine and somebody actually clicking on it. There's another aspect of it too, is that this is a fairly long name, and if you wanted to put it like on a sign writer, which they actually have a tool, I'll show you, you can easily order one. That's really too long. I mean, the print would just be ridiculous on a 24-inch spread. So you'd want to create a shorter name. This would work better than that. If I was actually doing this for the point of getting a sign writer, I'd maybe call it Surf Song 350. But that's only one purpose, and not everyone's going to use it. I think the more valuable concept here is to create an alias that somebody may be searching for that's more likely to come up than the street address and direct them to your site. So it's as simple as typing it in here. Like I said, I'm not going to do it again because I'm not sure that you can do three of them. But just say I wanted to do that. I would just hit add subdomain, and it tells you it may take up to 24 hours. I found when I did this, it was a lot shorter. It probably wasn't even an hour before that became active. The other thing, too, is that it says active and old. They're both active URLs. You can click on them and get to the property website through either path. So they're both active. So that's in there. And again, if you remember, we took it from this window, we hit edit URL, and we're going to close this because everything else we're going to do from hitting edit site. Edit site opens up a new tab, and it's actually going to be the set of tools that are under unique property sites, and the company this is subbed out is Properties Online Inc. So let's open up, oh, here it is, I have it. I just want to point something out that's important. This site right here is what's called the unique property site or unique property website throughout the system. These sites are different than these sites, which are known as the detailed property website. Now, if you notice, these are the sites that are generated from the Zap platform, and they're consistent all the way from century21.com down through all of those subdomains that are public facing, down to the office sites, your Zap agent websites, as well as all of these detailed property sites. All have the common look and feel, and they have some common attributes and elements in them as well. So these are different than these. I don't know how long they're going to keep creating these. It's like anything else. It's probably when the Zap platform supports all of the options that we're going to look through in part 1 and part 2, then these will probably be phased away. But they're here for now. They're not costing us anything. And if we can tie them together in a sensible way, and if we can exploit the capabilities that this platform provides us, then it makes sense to do so. Again, it's casting a wide net, making a larger net, if you will, all the point of trying to attract buyers for the properties. So let's go back in here, and for the rest of this session, we're going to look at user settings, and there's a few different tabs that we're going to go through, or a few different sections. Before we do that, I just want to quickly draw your attention down here. There's a couple of columns of information. This one, listing presentation tools, there's actually a video that you can click on and watch. We don't have time in this to do it. There's a flyer, set of PDF pages, and even a PowerPoint presentation, all designed to present to a prospective seller to convince them as to how valuable all of these tools are that we're going to talk about, and how valuable the videos and websites are in helping get buyers, the right buyers, to their properties. So you could look through those and see if any of them are useful to you. And then over here, under the Learning Center, is a bunch of little video clips that you can watch, tips, FAQs. You'll see later we're going to talk about a Craigslist option that has an PDF that you can read about that. So, and of course over here, they want to upsell you to the Pro version, but believe me, after you see part 1 here today and part 2, you're going to see there's so many features, so many capabilities that, why spend the money? So let's hit the agent profile to get started. And there's 5 tabs. We'll go through each of them. The first one that comes up is account details. Now this is the least important one because this is just your account information in terms of this company. This is how you're identified to them. As long as there's no mistakes in it, it's fine. None of this appears on any of the websites, so it doesn't really matter. Here's where it gets interesting or useful. This contact data is what actually appears on the website. So you want to make sure that this is what you want to be used. If you make a change, you get a new email address, change your phone number, what have you, you need to make the change in Dash. Not here, but in Dash. And Gretchen will help you get those changes made in Dash, and then the Dash feed will carry them out, and that's what will be used in the sites. Oops. I am so bad with this mouse. I touch it wrong and it zooms. I'm going to have to go back to actual size, which is a little small, and then zoom up one more time. I'm sorry about that. Here we go. All right, similarly, if you want to change the photo that appears on the site, you do that through Crest. So again, Gretchen will help you get a new photo loaded up into Crest. And then when the Crest feed comes down with all the rest of the data from Crest, that photo will be carried into the site. These next 2 tabs, the social badges or buttons, and the designations, are ones that you control completely right here. So, as you may expect, for each of these social media or social networks, you can paste in the links to your profile or pages, and then they'll be carried out onto the website right here. If you notice, I have 3 badges or buttons because I have 3 sites set up. And you can hit preview to check, that they're the right links. So let me just quickly, because it'll give me a chance to mention something about your business Facebook page. Um, you want to make sure that you get that username set up. We're going to have a separate session on the things you want to make sure your Facebook business page is set up to do. It's pretty simple, but we'll cover that in there. So you definitely want the username, because without the username, you really can't get a direct link to either share to people or in uses like this to be behind a button. So once you do have the username set up, right, it's just a matter of hovering over the name of your page and grabbing that link, coming back to where we're working, and just pasting it in like that. And any changes or additions you make, you'll want to hit save. You can use the preview button to check any of them to make sure that they are opening up to the right place. And that looks fine. Close that off. So you hit save. I'll save them, let you know. And then the last tab is your designations. Now, by default, these are all blank. Nothing is checked. So you have no designations on the site. So you want to go through here and make sure that you check off any of the certifications or designations that you've earned, and so that they appear on the site. Now, we could all check off MLS, we could all check off Realtor. In fact, there's a combined one. And, as time goes on, if you decide you're going to work for any of them, just make sure that you come back and update them. So any changes or additions you make, you want to hit save here. And they're saved. Okay. And actually, they appear in a few places. They'll appear under your videos, and they'll appear down here under the remarks. Again, this is a simple site. This is a detailed site. So we're done with these. Let's jump back to user settings. We're going to get into some of these defaults that you could add. There are a few categories of defaults that control how the look and feel of these is created by default. And of course, you can always change them for each site. But there's also our friend Google Analytics. Now, this is an interesting situation because it's a simplified way of doing it. I mean, it's simple for us to paste in a value and hit save, but it's kind of limited in what it's doing. It's the general, site traffic functionality of a tracking ID. But here's the thing. If you read here, it's going to put whatever code that you paste in here and save into each and every listing domain website. So you say, wow, that's great. It'll be in all of them. I am so sorry with this mouse. Okay. There's a way around that, though, and we will cover that when we go into our Google Analytics session. But what you want to do now is go into your analytics account, and if you're like me, you have one property for your Zap Agent website. Now, you don't want to use the same tracking ID for your Zap Agent website for these property sites. You're going to need to create a new property. Okay, so it's a website, and now you probably want to give it a general name like C21 Unique Property Websites. And then you want to have a link for a site. Now remember, this is same ID is going to go onto multiple sites, but you can just pick any of them, any one that you're working on, and you can use that. So pop that in here. Get rid of the HTTP. You don't need this code at the end either. Okay, so you've got that. Pick out a category. I usually pick real estate. How shocking. Check your time zone. Okay, and then get your ID. Okay, so there it is. This is the tracking ID that we just created for the new property that we call Century 21 Unique Websites. Okay, copy that and pop it in here. hit save. Okay? So you may wonder, it's like, what's going to happen when you go to Google Analytics? You're going to get all of the traffic from all of the different listing sites all into one. Well, we actually have a way around that. We're going to create different views. So we're actually, from this property called unique property websites, we'll create multiple views for the different sites that you have. And again, that's not in today's video, that's in the Google Analytics video. So just bear in mind that what you want to do is get that set up so that all of the property websites at least begin collecting data. It's going to be under that new property that you just created called Unique Property Websites. And we'll work on creating different views for your different sites so that you can actually get a handle on the traffic per property. All right? You got to trust me on that. Okay, so we did back to user settings. There's one more category, and that is your unique property website defaults. There's three different categories: the color scheme, the header, and these layouts. This is default. By default, see, I was messing around. It's called family, I believe. Let's see, what is it called? Family ready. That's the default. If you like it, you can leave it. Otherwise, you can change it. You can have no header. You can have any of these different banners. This one's the Fine Home and Estates, Gold Stripe, Neighborhood, whatever. Outdoor look, clear day, they call it. And then there's a bunch of commercial ones down below as well. So you set the default, and it doesn't really matter. I mean, this is just the default. When they're created, you can go into each site and modify it for that. Color scheme, really you can't tell much between them. I mean, you can see some of the variations, but the real differences that are apparent are in the backgrounds that aren't shown here. But when we get into the individual site in part 2, we'll look at those and you can see the difference. This is just a default is CS1. Layouts, you basically have two sets of two choices. You've got a narrow with a left side and a right side agent panel, and you've got a wide with a left and right. The only reason this is the default that I can think you might care about whether your panel's on the left or right, it depends on your photo. I guess if your photo is looking, I'm kind of straight on, but if I was looking that way, I'd probably want to use the right side agent panel so that my eyes are directed in. And if I was looking that way, I'd probably want to go and pick a left side so I was looking in. It's just a graphic technique. So if you make any changes, you click Save. And again, these are your defaults. You go back into the user settings. So we covered all of it. The agent profile, all 5 tabs, our little hack at how we're going to use Google Analytics for our benefit. Even though it's a very simplistic implementation, we can outsmart it by using views. And then we have the website design defaults. So that's basically it for today, part 1. Again, this is the website that we're talking about. This is the other one. Part 2, we're going to show how we can use these together. So that's it for part 1, and I'll see you in part 2.